the idea of having to rely on a village. That's scary. And the reason for that is because I don't want to rely on you today. And then I hear about it when my child starts kindergarten.
So there's a saying, and I'm not speaking of any sort of race, I'm speaking of a color. If it's white, it's not right. Right?
That part.
So, white bread. If this was me calling you, one, are you going to answer the phone? And then after you answer the phone, are you going to show up?
And then it gave a parameter, amen, on how I need to love her.
Talk about that.
He says Christ loved the church.
He gave his life.
That man up. When that man walks through the door, just tell him, man, look at my man. Come in and give us your fine self. You pushing that man and more.
This is when you know you're dealing with trauma in a light way. You get an envelope in the mailbox, you don't open it, you avoid it. Being avoidant.
And he's like, God, I asked you for this, but this is the most overwhelming thing in my life. And that's what I felt like. I'm just a walking milk bottle. Like, I don't have time to put on clothes or look cute or do my hair because I always have someone who needs me. And in the midst of all of this happening, right, I received top 40 under 40 for Hampton Roads, right? And
come on. Yes.
This is a huge honor because I know some heavy hitting people in this area who's never received it, who's applied for it several times and have not received it. And also when I got it, because I'm still dealing with the fact that I got my doctorate, right? Because that's a heavy thing too, because it's like am I really a doctor? People don't understand how heavy these things are, right? And so when it came, I'm like, damn, I haven't done anything this year, but God still allowed me. Like, baby, the things that you've done that you haven't even put your all into has already qualified you, has already shown the work that you've done, right? So don't ever say that you're reduced to this, because this is one of the greatest things. It's not a reduction. It's just one of the many things that I've called you into. Right?
Jesus.
So, your identity. And my mom, we did this whole thing called the Snapback series, right? I put it out on Instagram. That's my plug for that. But the Snapback series wasn't really about like snapping back to a small. It was really about bouncing back in the process of having a child. And you see my, like, even in the video, I would have never gotten the video with my hair naughty, with a hat on. But like some of those videos, I look completely deranged. But I had this conversation. One of the videos was my mother and I, which I thought I would never have. Like, y'all, this baby has healed generations, like healed my relationship with my mom. And my mom said in the video, she said, when I had you, I found myself like I neglect myself. And I felt like a good mother neglects herself. And I said, wait a minute. No, that's not a good mother at all. Because of what I will not do is neglect myself, because it teaches my daughter to neglect herself for the sake of others. And when she said that, I was like, it's time for me to change. I got to start showing her that I have care for myself. I got to put on my clothes even when I don't feel like it. I got to put on some makeup. I need to do my eyebrows when I don't feel like it. I need to get my hair done. Because even though she's only one, she watches everything and picks up on everything so quickly. So this little girl will be on the floor. She'll grab a bottle and pour in her hand and start doing her hair because she knows I do that. Like, they pick up on everything. So our emotions, our attitude, they watch us when we neglect ourselves. And I was like, I saw my mom neglect herself, and I started following that same path. So I was like, I'm not going to do this to this little girl either. So we have to figure out, all right, I have these titles, but I'm more than just, yes, this is one of my titles, but I'm more than a mother. Yes, this is one of my titles, but I'm more than a wife. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give everything that I can to each thing when it's in front of me. And the whole work life, family life balance is a joke. It's not real. Let me go ahead and put that out there. There's no such thing as work, family life balance. That's not real. What I learned to do is whatever is in front of me at the time, I'm giving my 100% time to that. And that's all. Because you
prioritize.
You just prioritize. That's it. Not you're gonna drive yourself crazy. Say, I didn't give the baby 40 hours this week, and I didn't give my business 40 hours. It's not possible. It's not. Just whatever it is, that's what I'm giving it to. If that means with you, I'm taking my phone and I'm throwing it away, that's what we got to do.
So I guess for me, what would you tell? I know you've already dropped a whole lot of nuggets. Like, I don't know if there's some like specific, like if there's like a new mom or someone that's struggling, someone that's going through postpartum, or someone that's struggling with just adjusting, and specifically from the standpoint of falling on the village. Because we talk about, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise children. But as, the conversation, we had a little bit ago, that's hard. When you're used to being over here, being over there, making ends meet, whether it's 2 jobs, 3 jobs, too many jobs to count, I got to hustle. I got to do A, B, C, and D because I cannot repeat, what I saw growing up. Whatever your motivation is.
My God.
That's hard for people like the 3 of us to say, I'm going to rely on a village. Even if people are knocking on your door, coming to your doorstep, because we show not calling them to come up to us, it's hard for us to accept that. And that's been a part of my process in getting here. And that's a conversation I've had with my husband, that's been a struggle for me. And I could see that, but I don't want it necessarily to be a struggle for me. And when I really sit back and be real with myself, I say, Sharlicia, that's probably one of the pieces to why you've been putting it off. Because my husband has been talking about children forever. And it's something that we know we always agreed on. It wasn't one of those situations where, one come into the marriage and is against it and the other one is for it. We all have been for it. We all agree on how many we desire. We agree on all of it. But it's just literally going through the process. And I can say that I've been the one over the years. I'm like, well, let me just get this certification first. Or let me go do it first. Let me try this job first. Something to kind of like delay it a little bit.
As a buffer.
Yeah. And kind of like as a distractor. But the reality is I think about all of these things. And then I think about, the idea of having to rely on a village. That's scary. And the reason for that is because I don't want to rely on you today. And then I hear about it when my child starts kindergarten. Or even before that. Well, yeah, I had to go over there and help them because she can't even do her hair and she can't even put her clothes on. Yeah, I heard something about that postpartum. That ain't real. That's just a spirit. That's the devil. I told her she needs to prep, stuff like that.
See what I'm saying?
If I have to go through that, I don't want your help. And that's something that I find myself struggling with, if I'm being real. So what do you say to that mother that's literally struggling with that?
So I want to say a few things. I want to start with this. You will not fail as a mother. Okay? You, Sharlicia, you personally, you will not fail as a mother. You will be everything that you are supposed to be. Even if the village don't show up. So it goes back to that stuff we talked about earlier. When people didn't show up for us, so we saw when they would go back and say, oh, I did this for her. And then you would see them say different things like that. Those people aren't your village. And what I also realized is some of those people, especially moms, the way I felt how my relationship with my mom was, and my relationship with my mom and my grandchild and her grandchild is totally different. My mom does never for this little girl. It's like a whole different type of love. Because I used to think like, I ain't gonna have nobody to babysit. I ain't gonna have nobody to do all of this stuff. But my daughter goes to my mom's house every Saturday. That is their day. They FaceTime every day. Like it's different. It's a different type of love. And so when I say babies come in and you start speaking those prayers, I prayed over my child every single day. I say affirmations over her. Every morning when she was in my stomach, I prayed, I said an affirmation because I had to control my own anxiety of always feeling like no one ever showed up for me, right? But what I suggest you do is to have a village party. And what the village party is, you invite some of the closest people in your life to come out and say, hey, y'all, y'all know me. I'm always taking care of, holding everything down, but I'm getting ready to embark on this journey. And this is what I need from you, Jaquil. This is what I need from you, Erica. And this is what I need from you, Steve. Whatever. This is what I need from you. Let everybody know in a room full of people that hold me accountable. I need you to handle me. I need you to do this for me. I need you to do that. Can you agree to that? Can you agree to being a part of this village? Have that village.
That's good.
Jesus. My God.
So it helps you with your own, vulnerability. It allows you to be vulnerable and have your husband right there with you.
That's what I was going to ask, Elle. I was going to ask that, in a sense, put you in that space of understanding how to be vulnerable, because especially if you are the superwoman, it'll lack the opportunity to say, okay, she told me from me every 2 weeks she need me to make sure she have a brunch day, or she need me to come over and cook, or whatever she need from me. And so instead of her having to ask because that pride might not allow it, I'm calling her like, hey, remember you told me I'm coming over. I got the mimosas, I got the brunch, whatever you need, and let's get this party started. And like, you can't give me any rebuttal, because when we had that village party, you said, you see what I'm saying?
So I'm just pulling up.
I'm pulling up. I don't care what you say, because I already know.
It has to be that way, because if not, you will not call these people. When the time comes and you're stressed, you won't call them. So you need to say in advance, this is what I need from you. And I need you to just pull up on me, because I'm not going to call you, because I know myself, but I know I'm going to need you. That's how you have to do it. And so how we did that, we incorporated that during my baby dedication. And so we did this thing called a libation ceremony. And one of my spiritual mothers, she went through and she talked, my daughter's name is Zion. And so she told everybody what her name means. And then we had this little chalice, and everybody had to go and use olive oil, and they poured into the chalice and said what they were going to put into her life, what they would pour into her life. And so everyone around the room did that. I did the baby dedication outside of the church, because I didn't want that Wednesday night service real quick, sprinkle the water and keep going. I wanted something real, and I wanted somebody to really pour into my daughter. And I had some people who poured. I had a friend pray for her from the top of her head to her eyelids, her eyebrows, her nose, her mouth, her legs, every part of her body. She prayed over her. She prayed over her whole entire life until she was an adult, having her own children. And so, like, being able to have people to pour, you need that, especially when you are the person who finds it very hard to ask people for things.
And Jesus, I'm so sorry. Finish, Elle. I'm just getting really excited. This is profound. When I said pour session, this is what I meant. Like, dropping those gems. I don't know if you would ever think about having a village party. I would have never. And I found myself to be a very creative person, would have thought, let's have a village party. That's something that I'm going to have with me. When I have that baby, I'm going to be able to go back on this episode and say, oh, that's right. Elle said have that village party. So now, as a part of whatever, we be so focused on the baby shower and getting those presents and getting those gifts that we forget about. It's a spiritual side of this, and it's an emotional side of this.
And not only, just having this conversation, but normalizing it, like, to a certain extent, making it okay for this to be the norm. So, once I do reach that journey, the next person behind me, what, I know everything I did may not work for you, but here's a suggestion, this is something you might want to try, and make it normalized, like, kind of going back to, I'm all for breastfeeding. I don't care what you tell me, about what you had formula, you turned out well. If what did I? Because as much money I just spent in co-pays and therapy, was I really okay? Talking about doula, I'm an advocate for doula.
Me too.
But I feel like those are things, and then now the village party, those are things that it could just be simply a lack of knowledge, ignorance, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but just lack of knowledge about it. And so like, when people hear these things for like the first time, or hearing one of us talk about it, especially me not even being a mother, it's just me doing research and things like that. You ain't even a mama. What you know about a doula?
But here's the thing, though.
But we need to normalize it and have these conversations.
Oh my God. Here's the thing, though. Sharlicia, she's coined it elderly privilege. This is not to be disrespectful to the elderly, but what they have to understand is that their way is not the only way. Okay, like I do believe in wisdom because I believe in that whole Ruth and Naomi dynamic. And to me, this is essentially what that is. What you're doing right now, you're my Naomi. You're me. Sharlicia is Naomi, and we're Ruth, reaping what you're telling us to obtain something that we had no clue about. And I said that to say Naomi doesn't always have to be 55 years older than me. She could just be a woman who has the experience, and that makes her wise. So for me, just because I use formula, my question is, why does that intimidate you? Like, because I want to breastfeed, why does that intimidate you? Because I want my kids to be cultured. And I might say they might not have Christmas gifts this year, but they're going to go on this vacation to London and they're going to see the world. That is the Christmas gift. Why does that? Well, you had Christmas every year. Well, they having Christmas. We just having it in London. That's it. You know, so I guess for me, like just understanding that, like you said, they can't teach us to be a mother because it's something that we learn, but also not downplaying us for wanting to do things different than what we had. You see what I'm saying?
And I think that, so with the village party, I had never heard of it before. It's something that I created. And because I know myself, right? I know myself. I know myself. I know what I'm not going to take. I know what I'm not going to ask for. I know I'm going to always try to do it myself. And I realized that I could not, like, I literally, when I say with the breastfeeding, I just had like the hardest time in the beginning. And though she would latch, like this is stuff people don't tell you. This is about to be a little, you know, so if you've had sex before, you've seen when a man's penis, after he ejaculates, his penis softens, right? The same thing happens to your nipple while you're breastfeeding. People never tell you that though, right? Like you could be breastfeeding and all of a sudden it goes soft and you're like, what the freak? How am I supposed
And Elle, you can be real up here too. You don't have to sugarcoat stuff because we grown. And if you're looking at this podcast, you need to be grown and mature. Oh, I'm listening.
So nobody tells you stuff like this. And I'm like, why didn't anybody ever tell me that these are the things that's going to happen? And so I had those moments, and one of my friends was like, you just got to keep going. And so in the beginning, when I felt like she wasn't doing it enough, I was like, I'm going to have to supplement and give her formula. And I felt so bad about it. And then I realized I needed to go back to something I did during my pregnancy. During my pregnancy, I did not set up any expectations. I didn't set up the expectation of being able to have a vaginal birth. I didn't set up an expectation of being able to carry to a certain date. I didn't do any of that. And I did that because I am an overachiever. And it's a drug for me. Achieving is a drug for me. So I didn't want to put myself in a place where I hated how my child came in this world. And I thank God that I was able to give birth vaginally, because I know me, I would have felt less than going through that process. And it's not true. No one who goes through that process, if you have to have the baby taken by C-section, the baby is here, baby. The baby is here. You brought forth life. And I felt like, but when I went to the hospital, like they were asking about your birth plan, even though I had a doula, I did not set one because I did not want to set the expectation. However she needed to get here was how she needed to get here. And so once she got here and I started beating myself up about the breastfeeding, I was like, you know what? However she needs to eat, that's how she's going to eat.
Come on. My God.
Right? It's not about, now I'm blessed. Like I said, I'm blessed that I was able to continue. And now I'm trying to stop. Like, y'all, we 13 months. And this baby, I can't get her off. And I'm only doing like once a day, but that once she would be out in public and she's like inside here and ripping. And I'm thankful though. I'm thankful because this is what I prayed for. So I say, don't set these high expectations. Stay off of these Facebook, whatever groups, moms, first time moms. Don't do it. I did it, y'all, for 3 weeks. Almost drove myself crazy because I saw where these people were and I was nowhere there. Or I joined eating groups and like, oh, y'all, I pumped 8 ounces today. How? I ain't never pumped 8 ounces, y'all, ever. Not out of. So like all of those things, you have to say, I got to turn myself away from some of these things because these standards are not my standards. They're not my guidelines. And so when I was telling you about like the village thing, something I created, it goes back to what I said earlier about your ancestors. They've prepared me for this moment. So those thoughts, they've helped me, guide me to those thoughts. They helped me say, all right, you're gonna need this. And then I'm like, oh, this will be a great idea. Let's do this. Right. So you just,
that's deep.
That's how it works. I truly believe that this is why they guide us and not tell us what to do. They guide us there.
My God.
And just a side note, I'm gonna need that doula information. I mean, because I've been doing a lot of research and I'm very particular.
Yes.
I'm super particular, like just in general. So just, out of curiosity, your doula information.
When I tell you she is the bomb, she's the bomb, y'all. She made me a whole mixtape for giving birth. And when my baby got here, I was like, the one song that I didn't tell her to put up there is Zion by Lauryn Hill. Her name is Zion. What? So
I love that song.
Go ahead and play Zion. So she's playing that on repeat while she's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Girl. So it was, my doula is the bomb. I will give you her name is Rhea Arnold, y'all. When I tell you she's the bomb, she is the bomb. And I thank God for this woman. I truly thank God for her. Because she is the one that like, explain your expectations. Don't hold things in. What you feel, say those things. Like, she is a godsend, y'all. Godsend.
I love this so much, Elle. And I know that Sharlicia had some questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to allow her to answer those questions because, like I said, when I saw this episode, Elle, I literally saw you and Boone. I call her Boone. I'm sorry. So if you hear me say that, it's just a habit. But I saw you and Boone doing this episode because she is like ready for that next step. Me, because I've heard that many times, like you're so focused on your career that you're going to miss your person. Like, what do you have to say about that? Like, is that a myth that you can bust for some women right quick?
Oh, that's what it is. A lie. That person is going to come the day that they are supposed to come. I had this baby at 37 years old. Now my knees hurt a little bit, my back hurt a little bit more than the 21-year-old would, but